Welcome to watchJojo Cooking. Today we're going to be making several salad dressings and just kind of going over some nice things to know about your salads that maybe you didn't know. The two salad dressings we'll be covering today are a Honey Balsamic Vinaigrette, and the other one is a Lemon Pepper Parm Vinaigrette. So both of them are we're staying away from the creamy stuff today, and we're sticking with the healthier alternatives. So I guess the first thing I should touch on is what's a vinaigrette. So a vinaigrette-based dressing is, like it sounds, usually has a vinegar in it, but basically you're looking for an acid. And what the acid does there is it breaks down all the product and all the flavors you're working with, and kind of softens up your lettuce, so that you're not just eating like aggressively crunchy lettuce, and of course delivers a nice zip and a nice good flavor with it. So our honey balsamic dressing that we're going to be making today is obviously going to have a vinegar in the form of balsamic vinegar. Is going to be our the star of the show, whereas the other one is going to be a lemon-based dressing. And that lemon-based dressing, obviously lemon's not a vinegar, but it is an acid, so it is going to do exactly what we need it to do, which is break things down and just combine all our flavors nicely. Cool, let's start on the lemon pepper. Core ingredient to most vinaigrettes, other than the acid, the vinegar, or the lemon in this case, is this is your fluff, oil. Oil is the best delivery method for what we're trying to do here. So today we're going to zest these guys, zest and squeeze, get all the flavor we can out of them. So we'll start by zesting them because it's way easier to zest whole. So if you have a fine grater, that'd be fantastic. This will just give it a nice added sharpness. You basically just want to go until you can see the lighter color underneath. You just want that outside layer. You don't need to get you don't need to turn the thing white. You just want to get a decent amount of flavor there. So we've, not in this video, obviously, but it's this very strong flavor, it's kind of the core flavor of it. It's very sharp, and it'll give it a nice punch. And if you want to know more about citrus, we actually have a video on that. And if it's not up, it will be soon. So now we'll juice these guys. So, best way to juice, you just take the ends off and leave the core. You're obviously going to lose a little bit of yield, but what's cool about approaching it this way is you're able to see and remove a lot of the seeds very easily, and then you can juice and not have to worry about seeds in your dressing. Let's get you out of here. There, because they're always just sitting on the top there. Done, done, done. And then this has mostly seeds. Garbage. That one's good. That's the core. Seed out, seed out. Nothing, nothing. Awesome. So we've gotten rid of all of our seeds. Start juicing. Careful when working with citrus. If you have any cuts in your hand, it will remind you you have them. So we're gonna add some minced garlic. minced here. Seen me do it a million times before. As fine as possible. A couple of chunks are fine. It's a dressing. A nice pop isn't gonna hurt us too much. I'm gonna throw that in here. We're gonna get that into the acid right away, so it can start breaking it down. Next up, we have Parmesan. As always, big advocate of the brick. You can use the same device you used for zesting. That's what I usually do. Is where a lot of your texture is going to come from as well. And because you're using Parmesan, you don't need to use as much salt as you think you need. I'm going to just cut away the brine here. Sorry. So the skin here isn't edible. So I want to kind of grate at this side and get a better angle. So I'm gonna just chop off the brine here. You can save this for soups. This can be melted down and all this cheese can be salvaged and melted into a soup. You just need to take the brine out when you're done. So now I have this really awesome edge to work with, which will grate way easier. So I'm gonna add the last of our seasonings. Here I'm gonna try something new. I'm actually gonna use a little bit of honey. Normally I just use a pinch of sugar here, but like both of them are a sugary substance. I feel like this will give it a nice extra texture. It's nice to try something different. As long as you're playing with the same core styles of ingredients, you're gonna get a nice result. So, failing honey, use sugar. Let's just give that a nice squeeze. Maybe a bit more. Cool. I'm happy with that. Now we're doing seasoning. Going pretty hard on the pepper. And then pretty light on salt because Parmesan is already pretty salty. So there, just a quick sprinkle. And now for the bulk, we have oil. Just enough to kind of submerge it. There. Today I'm going to use a whisk for this dressing and the other. If you want to have a more emulsified product where like the oil and the vinegar bond together and it makes it a little more creamy, you can do that using a hand stick blender, or if you have like a really nice blender. But I like to use a stick blender of just a little more control. And what I like about the whisk is it kind of makes it a little more rustic. You have a little bit more texture to it. It's not all just a cream, it's all mixed together. So we're just gonna whisk this guy together and it'll start to bond. You'll have to whisk pretty vigorously. Try and get those sides here. So we're gonna taste test this real quick. Obviously, because it's not completely emulsified, you wanna make sure that before serving it, it's very thoroughly stirred, because all the oil is gonna come to the top, all the solids are gonna hit the bottom. So when you go to taste it as if it was gonna go on some lettuce. So I'm gonna make sure I get some substance from the bottom, the top. You can see some of the zest. You can see a piece or two of garlic, like everything I've put into the dish, I can see. So the honey is stronger than the the sugar I normally would use. So I definitely went a little harder on honey there than I probably should have. My fix there is probably a little more pepper, and yeah, I think pepper is the solution there. Just give it something sharper to overpower it. So there's our lemon pepper vinaigrette there. And of course, like I said, it will keep settling, and your only solution to that is if you were to blend it with a stick blender, but I don't have one with me today, so we're going rustic. Boom. Dressing numero uno, done. Next up, we have our honey balsamic dressing. Star of the show, balsamic vinegar. So your goal here is you want to go 50-50 with your oil to vinegar ratio, maybe even a little higher on the oil side if you're looking to fluff. So I'm actually going to use, I'm going to use a little bit of vegetable oil as well. And I'm going to want to pour pretty consistently into 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I may have forgotten all my baking things at home, and that included my regular portion cups. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this like 10-ounce cup. I'm gonna go a little below, and I'm gonna just do one of each of these because then I can more easily control the level. Boom. Balsamic vinegar, done. I always go most expensive ingredient to least expensive ingredient. The logic there is you can actually see there's still some dressing left in this little coffee cup we got here. Some vinegar. This will help me wash out all the expensive ingredients. And that's why I'm going to finish up with vegetable oil, the cheapest of all the ingredients. Because at the end of the day, they're all getting mixed, so. Making a mess. Boom. So now we have all of our oils. Next up, gonna need a sweetener, so we're gonna go with honey. Then, spoon of Dijon mustard. This will give it a nice sharpness. There. Check, check, check. Good old salt and pepper. We're gonna go pretty hard on the pepper because I love it. This one we can go a little harder on salt because we're not using Parmesan. We don't have anything in here that is aggressively salty. So we'll go a little harder. And finally, tarragon leaves. They have a almost like a black licorice taste to them. And you'd be like, why is that in there? It just plays really nice with the balsamic. Something I was taught at a restaurant of mine, I can't argue with it. It tastes great. And that this stuff is strong stuff, so you're gonna go really light. Here I'm actually gonna use like garlic that's in vinegar. I'm not in vinegar, in oil. It's been broken down already, so its flavor profile is a little different. If you want, you could also roast it. If you had time, you could pan roast it if you're doing a batch big enough. And now it's whisking time. You can see how it's starting to get a creaminess, but it will settle very quickly. So you want it to have that creaminess whenever you serve it. And if you emulsify it with a stick blender, it will stay thicker longer. Taste test. Don't need a lot, it's a vinaigrette, so like less than a teaspoon, just to test it. That works. Perfect. All the flavors are there. And the tarragon plays nicely with like the honey, all the flavors in vinaigrettes are really strong because it doesn't take a lot for your salad. So when you go to serve, always go lighter and then work your way up. Some people like really saucy like salads, but you don't want to go too hard in the first batch because you'll end up with just this aggressively flavorful mess that like no one will be able to eat. So now I'm going to show both of these on the salads. I'm also going to have a few things already chopped up, and I'm going to show you a few tricks I use when working with like cherry tomatoes, which always look really sharp on dishes. I'm going to use about half a cucumber for our dishes here. Half, get rid of that cover. Zip those tips. I don't like them, they look ugly. And we're going to go with half moons. Depending on your plate, you might need to approach it slightly differently. But the general rule is the same. Just means I had to fit less. Boom, and boom. So what am I doing here? This is the Tomato Speed Slicer 3000. Let's see if I can get this angle for the camera. Oh no, my board is moving around. I apologize, the angle on that's tricky. It's a lot harder to show for the camera here. But basically what that does is allows me to cut all my tomatoes at once. And now they're all halved. How cool is that? You can use the bottom of any plate. I just grabbed two of my random plates, put them there. If you had to, you could use two cutting boards. As long as they're two flat surfaces and they're not gonna move around too much on you, you're great. I probably should have secured this plate with like a wet rag because it started sliding around as I was trying to slice through. But like, it's indisputable. That's a hell of a lot easier than going and half, and half. Constantly, right? And the bigger the plate, the more you can do, right? As long as the knife can fit through. The cutting board's secure because of these guys. This is gonna be secure because I have a rag now, because we learn things as we go along. If you're not learning, life isn't interesting. So I'm gonna fill this as much as I can. I'm gonna make sure my knife is honed as sharply as I can, because I wanna just be able to push my knife through this instead of having to saw it. Cool. Should be nice and even, has a nice tug. So we just place that on top, and then just push on through. Boom. All halved. Next up, what I want to cover is lettuce. So I want to point out a few things. A, romaine, very commonly used in salad, has like no nutritional value whatsoever. It's basically just hollow substance. So Caesar salad's actually just like epically bad for you, which is really funny. Spinach is actually one of the healthiest options you have out there. It's got good flavor, it's got like firmness to it, has nice texture, and it brings its own presence to the dish, which is always nice. Another one of my favorite lettuces I like to use is actually arugula. Kind of expensive, has a sharp peppery taste. Once again, it has crunch, but its stems aren't as aggressive as say spinach is. Spinach has a habit of having some pretty epic stems. So there are two different ways we can approach this. We can approach this with build it, top it, and then dress it. Some onion, why not? Then we will whisk up a dressing so it's nice and thoroughly mixed. This one settles really quickly, so you've got to move quick. You might even have to re-stir between dishes. Get it in a bowl, drizzle on top. So that's a little more rustic style there. The other option we have here is, once again, we're gonna whisk. Get some dressing in it. There we go. Always use a bowl that's twice as big as the surface area you need, because if it's bouncing around, you don't want to be like having to stir the salad and it have it being overflowing. You want to have lots of room to work. So now you've got your good coverage. You've controlled your coverage. It looks good. Let's plate that up. That was even probably too much dressing. Boom. And then we'll garnish. Stay in there. Just work our way inside with all of our different toppings so it looks a little sharper. Today we did 2 different types of salads. We used same core ingredients, but we did different dressings. We've covered our lemon, pepper, and parm vinaigrette here. And then we have our balsamic vinegar, honey balsamic vinegar, I should say. And both very sharp, very different salad dressings. A lot of people, like, they stick to their core stuff. They stick to buying their Italian dressings, and they stick to buying their Caesar salad. You're looking for something a little healthier and also just sharper. I mean, you're looking to impress, I imagine. Making your own dressings makes it look like you think you know what you're doing. Hope you have a good one. See you next time.